Hi, I'm Bowie, and this video is a redo of my previous White Mage video for the Omega Protocol. And since making that one, I've since improved my heal plan a bit, and also recorded a run with better execution. In this video, I'll explain everything I do in the fight, and to supplement this, there's also a doc and my comment underneath the video if you want a more detailed written version. I hope this can be helpful to you. To start off, I'll start with my opener, which is a pre-pull regen onto the main tank at -5 seconds, with a Benison weave, a glare with a presence weave, Intia, and an immediate Assize, to ensure that these cooldowns are off cooldown as soon as possible for the start of P2 even with a fast kill time. And going into program loop, it's important to note that the survival threshold for these towers on non-tanks is 33,000 health. As the HP penalty for these 3s wears off, I pop Plenary and do 1 Rapture. And then I do 2 glares, and while the party still has Plenary, I do another Rapture for the 4s, as well as spending all of my off-globables on them except for Benediction, which will be saved for the end of the phase onto the tank. As these last HP penalties wear off, I'm going to place my Asylum to top the party before Pentagrator. And just before the first stack, I'm going to use Temperance and Bell as late as possible. And Bell especially, you want to place within 1 second of the first stack going out to ensure that it can catch all 4. I save my Raptures here so that I can get a Misery on P2 start with a fast kill time. And after the 4th stack, Bell auto-pops, as well as healing, and tops the party to a safe threshold for these lasers. After the 5th laser, I use my Benediction on the lowest tank, prioritizing a Dark Knight if it's a Dark Knight Warrior comp. And going into downtime, I do 1 Rapture, a Potion, Dia, Assize, Presence, and Misery, while the bosses are both targetable for the cleave. Then I Benison both tanks for Solar Ray, and Aquaveil one of them. Tetragrammaton is available here for tank upkeep if it's needed. I'm going into party synergy. I do a Rapture to uncap my Lily Gauge. Then, waiting for these cleaves, I precast a Menica 2 before the fire. As soon as the visual appears, I do 2 Raptures, then a Menica 2 in my spot, and a regen onto the off tank before off time. Then I dash to the middle and do another Menica 2. I place my Asylum between the 3 and the C markers where the party is going to stack, and I Benison the off tank. And Tetragrammaton is also available here for tank upkeep if it's needed. I've saved my Misery and my Assize for cleave here when the bosses both become vulnerable. And I emit both of the tanks for the Buster. Moving to the center, I uncap my Lily Gauge and pop Temp 1 GCD after the tank busters. After these meteors, I pop Plenary and do 2 Raptures. You can see here that the linger for Plenary is barely going to catch the Cosmo Memory. This is ideal because using Temperance as early as possible while having the Met still catch both the meteors and Cosmo Memory ensures that it's off cooldown as soon as possible for the second patch in P3, even with a fast kill time. And going into downtime, I immediately spend 2 Raptures to top the party. And then, after making this dodge on the large AoE, I do a Rapture, Asylum in center, walk toward middle, and do a Medica 2 before uptime. I dia Assize presence on uptime, and I save my misery. After Hello World, there's residual Medica ticks and Asylum ticks to heal the party. After the first patch, I use my misery when my Assize is coming up and early weave it, and then do a Rapture. I pop my Temperance for the second patch. And after both patches, I move in, pop Plenary, and do 2 Raptures. Here I place my bell in the middle, between the defamations and the first patch break. And then I Assize on cooldown. And this specific bell placement ensures that it can also catch the start of the 4th patch. As you can see here. I placed my Asylum. Ideally, that would have been placed about half of the way into the latent defect cast, but I placed it a little bit late. But that's okay. I potion at about 12 or 15 to 12 seconds on presence, and I've saved my misery for it. I redot and then misery with an early SI sweep when it comes off cooldown. And going into monitors, the HP threshold for these for survival and non-tanks is 57,000 health. Also, the reason that the SI's usages are so precise in this series is because if you delay even 1 GCD, if the boss is dead on monitors, you will lose a usage in P4. I do 3 Raptures in downtime. Then idea with a late presence wave in P4. You don't have to save presence for P4. You can use it in P3 for damage under your potion, but I like to save it here for movement and GCD alignment. I misery to move, pop Plenary, and do a Medica 2 on the first stacks. This regen checks for most of the damage going throughout this phase, so it has very high value. I Asylum off cooldown. Ideally it would have been up slightly earlier. And before blue screen, I do an Assize and a Rapture. Followed by 2 more Raptures in the downtime. This uptime is pretty straightforward. If your tanks are midding, you're going to want to shield them, but this is invuln, so I don't bother. Tetragrammaton is also available here. Ideally, I would save my misery for the very end of this uptime to get an extra GCD, but my tank didn't pull the boss north, so I missed one. Going into downtime, I Medica 2 and then Medica 1. to heal the party to full. Looking at my patch timer, as it goes down to 2 seconds, I place Bell in the center and then do a Medica 2. This Medica 2 isn't needed, but I just do it out of habit from when I was progging. Moving to the safe zone, as the first green tether breaks, I pop Plenary and do 3 Raptures before the uptime. On uptime, I do Assize Presence, and then I Asylum. I would shield the tanks if they're emitting, but I think this is Living Dead. I Temperance midway through the solo recast to catch both tank busters and the raid wide, and I've saved my Misery here for an extra GCD at the end of uptime. This one doesn't matter if the tank pulls the boss north or not. Just here, I Misery for an extra GCD. Then I top the party with GCD heals. I went to the wrong spot initially here. Don't do that. Moving in, I pop Plenary and do 3 Raptures. Then I dash middle and top the party with a Medica 2. On uptime, I Dia Asylum and Assize. And I shield both tanks for the buster because they're emitting it. Because this is a Gunbreaker Dark Knight comp, I'm going to emit the Gunbreaker more first with my Aqua Veil. And in the next tank buster, I'll Aqua Veil the Dark Knight as well as shielding both tanks. As my presence ticks from 7 to 6 seconds, I use my potion. And for tank upkeep, I have a Tetragrammaton, a Benison. Here I swift for movement on the Omega dodges, but I would recommend not doing this outside of a totem party. Just for safety, if you need it for a res. I Misery at the very end of uptime for an extra GCD. And Med2 and Rapture on downtime. I top the party between the sets. And before the uptime, I pop Temperance to catch the second set and both tank busters, and I place Bell. I then shield both tanks, as well as double emitting the Dark Knight because they need it in this comp. I pop Bell after the second buster, just off the party. I save my Asylum here before the start of P6. I Misery before downtime for an extra GCD. Pop Plenary, and I try to do a Rapture in downtime, but I think it ghosts here. I think it's less likely to ghost if the tank pulls the boss north before the downtime though. But it's pretty minor. Make sure you discuss which LB you're taking and where you're going for meteors in the chat with your co-healer. And going into phase 6, it's also good to note that Swift Cast is available for movement in this phase because one death is almost a guaranteed wipe. On uptime, idea Assize Presence, Rapture, and Asylum. This Asylum placement is early because it will come off cooldown at crucial points during the phase. Here I shield the tanks for the autos, but you can also do this on Cosmo Dive 1 if you want to. And during these exasquares, I have a DO2 refresh, 1 Rapture for movement, and make sure you Temperance and use your Assize before the Cosmo Dive. And do not save your Assize for after the damage goes out, or it will not be off cooldown for Wave Cannon 1. And going into Unlimited Wave Cannon 1, I have a Misery, a Rapture, and a Swifted Glare for movement. And I also dash to my spot because I have to go across the arena. After both sets of Proteans, I pop Plenary, do 1 Rapture and an Assize. I do 2 GCDs, and then another Rapture while we still have Plenary, and place my Asylum. If you want to be safe, you can also do a Medica 2 here, but I see Whispering Dawn on the party, so I choose not to. On the second exasquares, I have a Misery for movement. And after the second Protean, I do 2 Raptures to top the party. Potion, Presence, and Assize afterward. If this is a tank invuln, you're also going to want a Benediction. Usually it's a warrior who tank invulns this. We can also do a Medica 2 here for safety, though I don't do it in this video. I have a Dia, a Rapture, and a Misery for movement here. I see some people aren't top, so I admit them. Though that's not usually the case. Either way, a Medica 2 after Wave Cannon 2 would have solved the issue. I do an Assize after Cosmo Dive 2 to top the party, and I would usually do a Rapture, but I saved it. I Swifted Glare into my Meteor spot and place Bell. I instantly pop Bell between the Meteor sets, as well as doing a Rapture for safety, though it's not really needed. Before the flares, I pop Plenary, do 1 Rapture, then 2 GCDs. While the party still has Plenary, I do another Rapture to top before magic number. I also have an Assize before magic number to top the party. I save my Misery for an instant before the LB for a slight uptime game. And with that, all my responsibility is done for the fight. Here, we just burn and kill the boss. But yeah, I hope this video was helpful to you. In the comment underneath the video, there is a link to my doc for the fight, which explains everything in here in greater detail, and also a link to the log. Thanks for watching.